video on.
Let's go! Let's go! Ah. Okay. Les dwarfs. Les squats. Plein de conversions pour du caradran. Plein de conversions pour des caradrans. Ouh, le genre de... Ouh! Ouh, le chaman est malade. Ouh! Avez-vous vu le fucking chaman? Le Rune Lord? Ouais, le match, c'est la troisième silhouette, ouais. September. Damn.
A lot of Leagues of Votan. That was one heck of a reveal. Where do we even start?
So this is the remainder of everything we've got for Leagues of Votan. So we've seen a smattering of miniatures throughout the last kind of few months, since April the 2nd, I think.
Il était où pendant 40 000 ans? Ça, c'est la bonne question.
But this is everything now. So with this video, we've now seen absolutely everything that's coming for the release of the Leagues of Votan, which are the new army for Warhammer 40,000. And as well as announcing the new miniatures, which we'll take a closer look at in a little bit, we can also tell you about the army launch set for the Leagues of Votan, which is the first place you'll be able to pick up the new miniatures, and also the first place you'll be able to get your hands on the new codex early. So this is a little bit like what we had for Black Templars and for the Beast Snagger Orcs when they released a few years ago.
Okay.
So this is your first chance to kind of, if you really want to be on the ground floor with the Leagues of Votan, you want to be kind of in that first expeditionary fleet, this is the box for you, and you can start your army with it. But there's plenty of new stuff in there, including this guy.
This is the Einhir champion, who is a close combat focused character model for the Leagues of Votan army, and is an absolute wrecking machine, as you can clearly see.
Yeah, so he's literally a battering ram. So if you look at the detail on this guy, he's got that kind of almost Nordic iconography of a ram on the top of him, and he's got these huge power packs on his back, which are mass drivers, which basically catapult him across the battlefield. So he can literally run into units, buildings, vehicles, and just send them flying. He's just an absolute wrecking ball of destruction. He's got some options that come with the kit. So
Je veux revoir le Elder Dwarf, ouais.
Enormous hammer, and as you can imagine, great big power hammers are pretty solid for any army, but the Leagues of Votan have got pretty good kits, so that's going to hit even harder than something like an Imperial equivalent Thunderhammer. You can also kit him out with an axe, which is made of basically antimatter and can cut through almost anything. So that's your kind of way of getting through and wounding pretty much anything in 40k. So you've got a few options there, and it gives you like a powerhouse combat character to just...
Les armures font tellement Starcraft, j'avoue, hein?
Yeah, I think you've got to just...
non, mais moi non plus, c'est pas négatif.
For me, I've been
I
really
like me
enjoying
some
watching
StarCraft.
sort of the reveals as they come out on warhammercommunity.com and seeing sort of the technology that's under.
On va-tu passer chaque modèle? Autant de temps sur chaque modèle?
Sort of weapon concealed inside.
Want the reveals, man?
I think it's called an Autok pattern combi bolter, so it's using that same sort of technology.
Les fixes sont sur la coche qu'on aime ou pas. Oui, non, ça c'est clair.
And like spit straight down.
Les fixes sont vraiment
hammer
hot.
in particular, as I understand it, is a really potent sort of melee weapon.
Yeah, so both of his combat weapons, basically, he's got the best close combat weapons in the whole book. And effectively, if you think of that kind of like dwarven archetype almost, these are your relic weapons. These are the ones that like a master craftsman has kind of forged out of them.
If only they weren't short. Quelqu'un qui a écrit dans le chat. Si seulement il était pas petit.
The miniature itself is really cool. So
Effectivement, je trippe pas 40K, mais les figues sont belles. Ouais, ouais.
Warriors kind of increase in rank. They get more and more of that kind of.
Pour vrai, le Elder Dwarf, le chaman qu'on a vu tantôt, là,
They become more ornate as
il
you'd
était
imagine,
vraiment
they
hot.
become,
Là.
higher
Ça
ranked,
donne
so
le
you
goût de
can
faire
touch
un
it.
Dwarf
If you want
Wizard
to, you
dans
can just
Donjon
paint it.
Dragon. Là.
It could be a quite impressive looking miniature if you wanted to show off your painting skills on it.
Yeah, no kidding. A couple of questions about options. The kit has
Oh my
two head
God.
options. They're both.
Ils vont-tu
bare
passer chaque kit comme ça?
bare heads. And then he obviously has the mass hammer or the dark star axe as well. And yeah, I'm very excited. But he is by no means alone within this set.
There's loads.
The very, very exciting Uthar the Destined, who is a special character amongst the Leagues of Votan, right?
That's right. So he's the only named character in the Codex when it drops. But he is the Destined, which means that there's like a prophecy basically about him that he's going to do great things for the Leagues of Votan. The model is based on the same core miniature that the Carl that we've seen already is based on, but there's
des ours ici? C'est comme des ours? Double-headed bear?
Iconography, the idea of like Uthar, Ursa, sort of that idea. He's like the bear almost. He's got a
petit
plasma
space
blade,
wolf,
which is like a better power weapon, basically. So like
their technology is like top notch.
Yeah, the Imperium wish they had swords that good. In game terms, he is an incredibly powerful force multiplier, basically. So you can put him at the center of your army, and he gives rerolls and bonuses and all sorts of extra.
Des rerolls.
Like a linchpin model.
Il y a encore des rerolls dans Warhammer 40K.
You don't have to take him if you don't want to. You can take this model and you can build him as a standard Carl designed to be a hero that you've created of your own creation, sort of thing. And you've got quite a lot of options in that kit as well for both aesthetically in terms of how it looks, bare head, helmeted head, different kind of creatures that you can have on the back, different weapons. So it's a flexible kit, but one of the things you can make with it is that special character.
Yeah, absolutely. And here you can see like the difference. Again, you've got the plasma sword, the plasma axe. You've got the Vulcanite disintegrator or the auto pattern combi bolter. So there's nice flexibility, and whether or not you want to use the special character or create your own Carl to lead your army battle. This is the guy for you. And as somebody's pointed out, yes, double tactical rock because, quite frankly, he needs the height advantage.
Yeah. Also, I think part of it as well is to make sure he looks cool when he's facing off against
Oh
other,
my God.
Cool characters, right? So if you have this guy up against a Space Marine captain, you don't want him to.
Ça va être genre une demi-heure.
Your battle won't look as.
Une demi-heure de jaser des modèles.
But it's also one of the nice things about that rock is it kind of nods to the.
Il y avait beaucoup de kits dans cette boîte-là. Là. Ça va être long. Là.
So you can imagine that's like a rocky asteroid that's full of minerals and ore and stuff. So a little bit of the story of the army.
Définitivement, la prochaine armée de Warhammer, après avoir échangé mes pyro-tueurs à Saline, ma vie manque de petits barbus. Nice, les pyro-tueurs. Lâche le terme pyro-tueur, qu'est-ce que c'est? On va seulement dire des pyro-tueurs maintenant, Saline, désolé. Seulement des pyro-tueurs. On va peindre en attendant le prochain reveal, ouais, c'est ça. Black Market Hobby, salut les copinos, copinettes. Salut Tony, comment ça va? Qui a dit? Borbil, tu dis 349$. C'est-tu le prix de la boîte, ça? Canadien, ça? Entre deux bois, ça va. Nice.
Yeah, just behind Uthar, right at the front, you can see the Ironkin with this kind of domed chrome head.
It just feels super nice that they've got like little sort of mechanical intelligence sort of noodling around with the kin. Love it. Right, and then
V'là la boîte.
Like,
ok.
Raph just press a button.
Ah,
back. Inside the box, you also get a codex which contains obviously all the lore and everything that you would need to know about your new army, along with all the rules.
On n'a pas vu le shaman.
The codex that comes in the box, in the launch box, has a special cover, which is the only place you'll be able to get that version of the codex. Otherwise, it is the same as the standard codex will be released very soon afterwards. But your first chance to get hold of that codex is in that army launch set, and it's got everything you'd expect from a codex. So obviously, the first time we've ever had a codex for the Leagues of Votan. So all of the lore, a lot of the lore will be pretty much brand new, and it's got everything you expect: Crusade rules and stratagems and data sheets and everything.
And there's also a lot of transfers in this set, apparently. So there you go. Right.
Next.
Of course,
Oh, fuck.
more than just this army box within that teaser video. Here is a glimpse of the Chthonian Berserk.
Mole grenade launcher.
Which not only has a very long name, but also looks pretty rad. What are the Chthonian Berserks and why do they need a mole grenade launcher, Eddie?
So we've seen the Chthonian Berserks already. We saw the units of them, but one of the upgrade options for the units, if you choose to take it, is the mole grenade launcher, which is a bit of a nod back to some of the kind of ancient squat tech. That
Squat!
you might remember from
Il l'a dit! Squat!
This is a mining-based weapon.
He said the word.
You can burrow underneath and pop up in amongst the enemy, be it they're hiding in a bunker or behind a mountain or something like that. But the thing that I really like about it is just the whole piece is basically like a little diorama.
On dirait un Castellan Robots.
You've got the berserk around the gun, and they've
En
got
arrière, hein.
the Ironkin assistant who's following them around, and every time the Ironkin turn up, they're basically just trying to be as helpful as they possibly can. So this one is carrying the great big plasma axe on his back. He's got all the spare ammo. You can imagine him kind of like helpfully passing the extra ammos and grenades to the gunner after they fired each shot. It's just a lovely little scene, but also a really powerful piece in your 40k army.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, awesome nod on the back of the Iron King. You can see that heavy plasma axe. You notice the blade isn't visible. Obviously, when it sort of is activated, it projects this sort of plasma energy blade. Really cool, I thought.
Quite a fun idea for painting as well. So when you come to paint your plasma blades on the Votan, you can imagine the plasma is like different colours depending on what kind of plasma it's doing, or what it's just hit, or what's in the atmosphere, and all sorts of different things. So a good excuse to do some fancy painting where you so inclined.
Yeah, somebody in the chat said, Chthonian, is that not a Space Marine homeworld? Well, it was a Space Marine homeworld, but then since the Votan are like pre-imperial, who knows? I can imagine they'll have a dispute over naming should they ever meet any sort of teal armoured Space Marines. Who knows? Right. What else have we got?
Dans le lore, ils sont accompagnés par des automates et ils les considèrent comme des égaux, genre de intelligence artificielle qui réalisent les tâches. Ok.
Sort of nature.
Comme on voit ici un peu. Hein.
The kin of Votan and their sort of iron kin. I really like the idea that no matter it's contained within their lore that kin are kin regardless of whether they're flesh or iron. And here you have the Iron Master surrounded by essentially his allied,
his assistants.
sort of abominable intelligences. I don't want to be too hard on him.
Yeah, I mean they wouldn't use that
imperial
phrase, but perhaps the Mechanicus would. So you've basically got two different types of mechanical assistant there. You've got the Ironkin, which is the one you can see at the bottom left.
Le potentiel pour Cities of Sigmar Caradron est insane pour vrai. Pour vrai, oui. Là. Tu peux te faire une sweet looking Caradron, Caradron Army avec ça. Là. Vraiment, vraiment, vraiment.
So the Ironkin at the bottom is kind of a comparable intelligence to one of the Leagues of Votan warriors, one of the kin, and will kind of be as helpful as possible and can have like detailed conversations and even be involved in kind of tactical decisions. Whereas the cogs are really just there to kind of fulfill a function or a role. So think about them like familiars basically.
Adds another thing to our which familiar is best.
It does
arguments.
indeed.
I like
They
that.
seem pretty well armed for familiars as well.
Somebody said, what is that gun? I'm going to tell you what the gun is. The Brockier Iron Master is equipped with a graviton rifle and graviton hammer, and then his Ironkin assistant is equipped with a Lasbeam cutter. So I assumed you meant the Brockier.
Oh my
There is
god.
obviously the Iron Master himself to talk about. In fact, he's kind of the main event really. So this is your kind of engineer tech marine.
Plus ils prennent de temps sur les units, moins de stock on va voir dans les autres. Là. C'est ça que ça veut dire.
So this is if you've got a vehicle heavy Leagues of Votan force, you might want to consider having a Master in there. It also gives you like a ranged hero as well if you'd rather do your killing from far away than charging with mass drivers into the middle of the enemy range. He still has a big hammer, right?
He'll
do all right. He'll squish a grot if it gets to cover.
Yeah. Now, this could well be my favourite
Ooh!
in the
Grimnir.
of Votan. You have here the Grimnir, which is a model. So Grimnir is in the centre, but there's also an option which you can see on the right hand side, which gives you a different head. What is a Grimnir? I guess is the real question, Eddie.
So a Grimnir is an important part of Leagues of Votann culture. They do a few different things for the Leagues of Votann.
Dude, celui-là avec la cape pis le hood, il est vraiment hot. Vraiment, vraiment hot. Je pense que j'aime mieux la version avec la capuche. Je pense que j'aime mieux la version avec la capuche que la version pas de capuche. Là. Les dreads blancs sont hot, là, mais la capuche est vraiment nice. Je viens de trouver mon modèle pour un Dwarf Wizard dans D&D, clairement. Un beau Battle Mage de Cities aussi, excellente idée. C'est un Targaryen sans capuche ici, ouais, c'est ça.
But they're not heavy bolters, they'll have a cool,
Yeah, I can probably
appropriate name.
They're equipped with Auroch pattern bolters.
Well, there you go. They're
There you go.
loads better.
And he's carrying his ancestral ward stave. So there you go.
Why not both just such a fun comme ça?
And that was actually going to be my question to you. Do you know anything about the sort of what?
Nice, vraiment nice.
So I haven't actually looked at the psychic powers yet. So,
That's very
so
exciting.
no, I'm just going to go with no.
C'est beau. On a vu le modèle de Dwarf qu'on voulait voir. Next! Next!
Over the, or she, because there's an alternate build in there as well. You can make it either a male or female.
Absolutely.
But yes, there's a pile of stones there. You can imagine kind of levitating up using his psychic powers. And again, it's kind of nodding to that mining aesthetic almost that kind of is a theme throughout the Leagues of Votann range, where you've got this idea of a kind of rocky battlefield. So they'd look very, very cool, I think, very appropriate at home if you wanted to do them on like a moonscape or a lunar surface almost.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm quite a fan of just buying the odd random dwarf and painting them up.
Il y a trop de Tactical Rocks. Espérons qu'ils se détachent des Tactical Rocks.
I think this might be my favorite.
Tactical Rocks, pardon.
This is such a, and especially with the two supporting cogs there as well. I think this is one of the strongest miniatures. I think it's very, very cool.
Now it's not by any means the biggest thing.
It's not the biggest. No. This is the biggest.
Here you go. Here is the Hecaton Land Fortress.
La petite boréale, Xavier, effectivement. Effectivement.
Tell me more.
So this is the largest miniature in the Leagues of Votann army. This is their mainline battle tank. So it does a few things. You can see it's absolutely covered in weapons. There's all sorts of bolt or rail weapons all over that thing. It's got some kind of anti-air stuff at the back there, and it's got your main cannon on the top, which has a few different options. All of the guns are ruinously powerful. It's also very durable, so it's got both reinforced armor and force fields built into various different parts of it, so it can take the hits pretty well. It's also a transport, so you can carry 12 of your kin around, so it fills a role.
Look at how cute the little door is.
The doors are pretty cute, yeah. But less cute when some Chthonic Berserkers come charging out with Plasma Axes, I imagine.
Yeah, 100%.
But this fills a number of roles in your army, so this is your mainline battle tank, but it's also your transport, and it's kind of akin to something like
Go Tortue Ninja.
Land Raider crossed with a hammer. That's probably a way to think about it.
Love it. Also, you said Akin, which has me chuckling.
Il est déjà 8h30. Il reste juste 30 minutes pour les 3 autres reveals.
Somebody said, is that transparent plastic? The answer is yes. And here you have the driver and
Lily.
co-pilot. I like to assume gunner. I don't know who's doing what. Who knows? The gun on top is particularly fearsome, right?
Yeah, so you've got a few options, but the one
Fais-le, Lily.
on the screen
Viens-tu
right
voir
now
les
is a
reveals?
regular rail cannon. And basically, it uses similar sort of tech than the tower figured out. So it's a railgun equivalent. So it can punch through invulnerable saves.
Mino.
It can also do some pretty nasty stuff like if you roll the right combination of dice, you can basically keep doing wounds to a unit after the initial model has died.
Maximal
So
serait
even though it's only
content.
a single shot weapon, you can wipe out chunks of
Dis-tu bonjour?
squad just with the sheer
pas bonjour?
velocity of the hit. Basically, you can shoot through multiple models. Which is pretty fun.
Love it. Fantastic. The thing that really sits nicely with me with this is that it feels like the sort of thing that when the Votann first sort of set off into the stars and found themselves drifting towards the score,
C'était juste 1 heure, ouais, c'est supposé être juste 1 heure, effectivement.
Yeah,
Après, c'est un gros release pour 40k, nouvelle faction, ça arrive pas souvent. Et nous, on a joué tous les leaks STD. Non, c'est pas du STD qu'on va avoir, là. C'est d'autres choses. On a assez vu 40k, là. On peut passer à d'autres choses. Pathé se fait dire qu'il t'aime, puis ben moi aussi je t'aime. Je vous aime, les gars. Mouah, mouah. Je vous embrasse partout, là. Ah. Même entre les orteils, oui, surtout entre les orteils. Ok. Next.
And the army box is very close.
It is, yes. So the army box is on its way in September, and those of you with a calendar to hand who are in Europe will have noticed that it is now September.
We're in.
It is the
Yeah.
first. It's the first of September, so you don't have to wait too long at all before you can have the first of these models in your hand, along with the codex.
A couple of comments in the chat that are probably worth addressing. Somebody says that is not a land train. You are correct, as it said on the label. It's Hecaton Land Fortress.
True. If you wanted to buy 3 of them and roll them around together, that's on you. You know, that's cool.
I'm not your mum. I can't stop you. Somebody says, where are the guard? I've seen that one or two times scrolling by. The guard will happen in due time. I mean, if you think you've waited a while for some Imperial Guardsmen, imagine like misty-eyed Adam Troke, whose first ever Warhammer 40,000 models were squats back in the day. I think they were called Space Dwarfs on that box, like one of those original.
Codex Roadmap. Ils vont peut-être nous montrer un roadmap, nous autres aussi.
Codex, think how long people like me have waited for the return of the leagues.
But
speaking of which,
we can give you a bit of a sense of when these things are coming. So right now, if you hop over to gamesworkshop.com, you will notice that Codex Chaos Demons is available for pre-order and will be dropping in stores this weekend. We know that the army box for the Leagues of Votann will be landing in September with the Leagues of Votann Codex hot on its heels. And then in winter this year, we will have first the Astra Militarum and then the World Eaters close behind. So it is an exciting few months ahead for Warhammer 40,000.
I have to confess, I think this sort of next tranche is very, very exciting. The Votann, which is like, you know, sort of like undiscovered country / a little bit of familiar old nostalgia wrapped into one. And then we had a little bit of a tease a few weeks back of some of the sort of forthcoming things for the Astra Militarum. And then who knows?
I think with those last 3 codexes, the fact that you've waited till the end of all the other codexes means that you've probably got some pretty cool stuff to look forward to.
Seconded. Right.
All right.
So,
next. Let's go.
Nothing like halfway through the reveals. Raph, do you want to take us on to the next subject?
Let's go. Underworlds. Corn. Ooh. Yo. Oh. Damn. Damn.
A new warband for Warhammer Underworlds. Eddie, tell us all about the Gore Chosen of Drom.
So, the Gore Chosen of Drom, as you say, Adam, a brand new Warhammer Underworlds warband for Nethermaze.
This
They
is
are
a big
3
dude.
character warbands, so they are towards the elite end of the spectrum. And we have seen some Khorne warbands before for Underworlds, but we haven't seen any since the very first season back in the age of Shadespire. So it's nice to see the Blood Gods with some new followers into the Hex. These are a very different kind of flavour of Khorne warband than the ones we've seen before, which have always been sort of based on the your kind of battle line units, whereas this is very definitely a kind of 3 character warband. So you've got in the centre, you've got your priest, Drom himself, and then you've got his kind of fiery smith on the right, which we have seen that miniature before, but he's in this warband. And then on the left, I think is my favourite, which is basically a character which is well on his way to turning into a Korgoroth. So the swollen with the power of Khorne, probably not quite in the way that he anticipated, but you can already imagine that guy's going to be an absolute powerhouse of muscle and death in the game.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Kinda
love
cool.
you mentioned that he's on his way to becoming a Korgoth. You can see sort of those first sort of elements of the
Yeah.
sort of transmutation of flesh, as it were, right?
Yeah,
This
I
is-
remember seeing the Korgoth for the first time and being like, how does that happen? And it kind of answers it pretty well, actually. Is the missing link, as it were, between mortal and whatever a Korgoth is.
Yes, quite.
Yeah.
Also, enormous shout out for the model on the right hand side, who frankly is repping my body type in the underworld.
Everyone's welcome in Khorne. Khorne cares not. All body types welcome.
Yeah, I love it. There's a lot to like. A little glimpse of the rules are on their way. It is worth talking about, I guess, what this warband does for you in Underworlds. As you would expect, as devotees of Khorne, they are incredibly good in a fight. But because Drom is a priest of Khorne, you're going to see some things that perhaps you've not really seen before, especially in the Underworld.
It's about as subtle as Khorne gets with some of the abilities.
Yeah, go on. So do you want to run us through
Yeah,
it?
so basically, the way this guy works is that you can force models to charge. So you can either use that on your own models, or you can use it on enemy models. Now, that has all sorts of game things that you can do with it. So you can move enemy models off objectives into your models. You can force enemy who don't want to be in combat to be in combat with you, and then hit them with your own characters. So it's a really, really flexible little ability that really can mess up an opponent's plans and make it much easier for your
Ça fait des super beaux leaders, hein, pour une armée de corps, là. Un nouveau priest. Puis après ça, ben, vous avez des Deadbringer, Aspiring Deadbringer, des affaires de même, là. Ça peut être quand même cool.
Either come off or send one of my guys.
Underworlds ont toujours des beaux modèles, c'est l'enfer.
You can pretty much just force them to not play that game and decide that you are going to have a fight whether you like it or not, which is exactly what Khorne would want. So it plays very differently to the Khornate warbands we've already seen, but it's still very much all about collecting skulls.
Yeah. So this is the Gorehulk, who is that sort of on his way to becoming the Korgoth model, and just an absolute powerhouse, unbridled sort of combat potential, and then he's got this really lovely throttle rule as well, which is
So
pretty cool.
it's pretty cool. So basically, he's got two different attacks. They're both short-range combat attacks, but one of them is a kind of a stun attack, basically, so you can stop the enemy from doing all sorts of things by having done it. The other one is
That's choking grip.
that's your
stacked,
choking
right?
grip, yeah. And the other one is your crushing grip, which is just a pure damage dealer. But the thing that's nice about it is, obviously, he's in that warband that allows you to force enemy models to charge you. Then you can choke and grip the enemy model, forcing it to kind of like take away lots of its abilities and making it difficult for them to get out of the way. And then you can hit them again, so you can hit them multiple times in the same turn without this guy even charging. So there's some really nice combos, even without looking at some of the cards that you can play with these guys as well. So it's going to be a really fun warband to play, I think.
Nice. Yeah. So somebody in the chat says, "Who is your main Adam?" I think as a reference to which is my default warband to go to. So I have played more games with Steelheart's Champions, the original sort of in that first Shadespire box, than every other warband I own put together. But I have a secret thing for the Fireslayers, whose name has just gone out of my head. How bad is that?
I'm sure the chat will enlighten you.
I've literally drawn a blank.
All right.
The first time
Est-ce qu'on tombe sur Horus Heresy ou Age of Sigmar next?
Right. So here we go. Coming soon for Warhammer Underworlds, and it's really quite soon, right?
They are very soon. Again, this is a September release.
J'espère qu'ils ont appris que les autres warbands et qu'ils vont avoir de bonnes règles pour iOS.
Thank you. Yes, of course.
Absolute Powerhouse, c'est vraiment l'expression préférée d'Adam. Ça revient souvent, effectivement. Come on, next. Next.
Well, I mean, he's used to the depth of
the sweltering heat of the holds. I don't know.
He probably still thought he was trapped in some kind of half-remembered afterlife somewhere in the realm of Chase.
Quite so. Right. We are staying for a little while longer in the Warhammer Age of Sigmar, the Mortal Realms.
Okay, AOS!
Come though. We've got more Warhammer 40,000 and some Horus Heresy. So let's continue with this Warhammer Age of Sigmar video.
AOS!
Have you been a victim of unjust destruction at the hands of rampaging saurians? Do you wish you had a pair of big, strong arms to butcher your Skaven problem? For creature problems, great and small,
The
call
crab,
the
no!
Blood Pelt Hunter today. Main course service with no leftovers.
Ooh. What the fuck? Okay.
I think Chat has lost it over the poor old crab. So we have now seen a new model for the Ogre Moor tribes. This is the Blood Pelt Hunter, and he's a curious looking fella.
Yep.
What is he?
So we've seen
That's
a few,
it for Age of
monsters
Sigmar.
for the ogres. This is a new plastic miniature, and this is
j'espère que
a
c'est
kind
pas
of loner
tout.
of the ogre tribes, basically. So he is a monster hunter
Oh my
expert.
God.
So you can see there that he's got an enormous great crossbow, which hits with the power of a ballista. He's also got like a variety of different weapons, including harpoons and all sorts of stuff. And all of them are basically designed to take out monsters. So if you're up against
It's
kind
a
of
wrap,
monster-heavy army,
folks.
there are a lot of them around currently in Age of Sigmar. Almost every army you face has got some variety of monster.
Oh my God.
This is one of your units to kind of deal with that threat at range.
Comment vous le trouvez, le modèle?
Um,
C'est quoi vos impressions sur le modèle?
line and the squishier stuff. He's got an interesting trait for an ogre, which is that when he takes out a monster, he almost always takes a trophy of something. And the reason that's interesting for
Non,
an
non,
ogre is
j'espère
that
que c'est pas
usually
tout,
they
là.
eat
Ça se peut pas que ça soit
everything.
juste
So
ça.
It's
Ça se peut pas.
incredibly rare for an ogre
Mais
to decide
focusons sur le modèle pour le moment.
So,
Qu'est-ce que
the
vous
other
en
ogres think it's
pensez?
a little bit weird, maybe, for keeping things like the heads of some kind of saurian beast or the pelt of a bear to keep him warm, or antlers or something as a kind of trophy. But he doesn't care. He's a loner. That's his thing. And this guy is going to form part of your ogre Moor tribes army.
Is it weird that I really love the pelt / head of that bear type creature on his back? I think it just looks amazing. I kind of want to know what it's from.
Yeah, I think that's one of the nice things about like lots of your kind of Age of Sigmar monsters.
Remonte le modèle, sur la coche. Encore un modèle avec du tir pour mieux briser le méta. Si les règles vont avec le modèle, tire à 32 de mouvement parce qu'il est encombré. Je pense que c'est la paint job de la peau qui est weird. Ouais, la paint job de la peau, je sais pas, hein.
That's pretty cool. Everyone needs to accessorize.
Yep, you've got to love it. So,
Ça va être un calvaire à peindre, ouais.
Ogre Moor tribes, and quite unexpected. I think I hadn't really imagined that we might get.
Y a-tu dit quite unexpected? Vous avez tweeté le nom de la miniature un matin.
It fits in nicely with the
C'était la chose qu'on s'attendait le plus.
infantry ogres and the wandering nomadic ogres kind of crosses those.
S'il dit que c'est tout pour Age of Sigmar, là, on pogne les nerfs, on riot.
Rules-wise, he's going to bring something quite interesting to the force. He has an ability to essentially sort of slink around in sort of out of sight of the enemy and move if he's not sort of
engaged.
Yeah, so essentially like a little bit of repositioning for better shots and stuff, and that just
Yeah, he's
feels
quite
like
sneaky in an army that is full of a lot of brute force.
Yeah, not a
and
lot of subtlety typically.
Yeah, he gives you some interesting tactical options for an ogre army. But obviously, he's still got a massive crossbow, which is pretty unsubtle, and he's still gonna eat you in a fight. So he's not that subtle,
Super. Yeah, I love it. Now, that is not the only Warhammer Age of Sigmar
Merci.
Kit we're going to show you. It's true. There may be something a little bigger.
Oh. Something a little bigger.
Well, look at this. Little book of stories for the squishies.
SOB.
Well, I has got a real story. Behemoth was coming back, and the world was trembling. Till the hammer god killed him stone dead with his tiny cheating hammer. And Now, they think we're done. Broken. But they is wrong. And we don't forget. King Broad's got a bone to pick.
King Broads?
All the shiny squishies.
Oh shit. Oh, damn. Hein, Rumor Engine doit être là. Ouh! Ouh! Hou, hou, hou.
King Broad.
King Broad.
Big boy.
He is. So this is literally the biggest character in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. This is King Broad of the Sons of Bahamut, a mega gargant. If you have been following Age of Sigmar since its inception, since the battles of the Realmgate Wars, you will remember that there was a King Broad who was present during the Realmgate Wars when Bahamut was slain by the God King, when the Celestant Prime, using Galmaraz and the power of Sigmar, basically killed Bahamut, the World Titan. King Broad witnessed that event, and since then has had a burning hatred for the forces of Sigmar.
Il a trois orteils.
And like many of the other
Damn.
gargants, he has grown over the years, swollen with the power, the unleashed power of Bahamut, which is now flowing through his sons, and has become basically the mightiest champion of the giants of the gargants in the mortal realms. And he goes through the realms, spreading the story of him witnessing the death of their father, Bahamut, at the hand of Sigmar, rallying the other gargants to his cause. He's effectively the de facto leader of the Sons of Bahamut, but he's also a priest. So he's kind of surprisingly
a priest,
good orator for a gargant, and the other Sons of
Nice.
Bahamut follow him.
I'm not sure what sort of a bar that sets.
Well, I mean, you know, it's a low hurdle, but he easily steps over it because he's quite tall. So the model is spectacular. So it's based on the same core frame as the rest of the Sons of Bahamut miniatures, a little bit like your Knight, I suppose, in Warhammer 40,000.
Sure.
But this is a named character, and it's got all sorts of very cool stuff on it. So the most kind of striking thing, I suppose, is that dragon head. So you can imagine one of the ancient drakes, maybe ridden by a stormcast, thought they could take this guy out. Not so much.
Now it's a fancy hat.
Now it's a hat. He's also got the biggest hammer in Warhammer, made of a tree with what appears to be a stone column attached to it. And he's covered in creepers, which are
un vrai Titanic Boulder Club.
which are basically little helpers for the gargants, and they do things like apply their war paint and probably, you know, dentistry.
It sounds so wholesome.
I mean, I'm sure they're horrible little skittering destruction creatures, but that one in the top right looks like pretty adorable, right? Like all in and amongst the giant's hair there. But if you're wondering how the giants had the dexterity to thread
Rend un dommage trop.
into their hair and beards, now we know they've got little creeper friends who do it for them.
If we can just dive back for 1 second, Raph trying to keep us on track, I imagine. I just want to call out how incredible the face is on this model. Truly just outstanding. Not just the sublime job that the miniatures design team have done with the sculpting, but also whoever painted this miniature must have spent, I'm assuming, hundreds of hours. Just absolutely something else. The first time I saw it, I was absolutely captivated. But that picture there on the left really just is unbelievable. Also, somebody in the chat said, "Why has he got a symbol of Khorne?" I assume it's because he crushed the life out of some ne'er-do-well champion of Khorne.
He's got all sorts of icons and symbols on him. So you've got a symbol of Khorne there, but he's also got a Wanderer's shield. He's also got a bit of a Leviathan shell. He's got some bits of
anything he wants. He's big enough to take it.
If you're holding a shield and he wants it, he's going to get it. But the miniature is very cool because of the way that it's built, and because of the headdress and the kind of horns.
Ils ont dit que c'était le plus gros character. Je sais pas si c'est leur manière de dire.
Quite appropriate. One of my favorite things is
c'est un personnage.
He's got the rings which are made
le plus gros personnage, mais je sais pas si c'est vraiment le plus gros modèle.
He's kind of wandered through the mortal realms, smashing forces of order and taking the crowns as little rings.
The rings really are brilliant, aren't they?
Which is quite a fun little thing. But there's every other Mega Gargants are already an incredible kit, but this one I think is takes it to a whole other level. Very, very cool. This is a model that you can use basically at the center of your Sons of Behemat force, and it's going to be a powerhouse in the game as well. Like, he's a powerful model just from being a
priest.
Gargant,
Moi, je
but
pense
he's
que c'est ça
also
qui
a
m'excite
priest.
le
He's
plus.
also
C'est un
force
priest.
multiplier for the rest of your Gargant force. So, watch out for this guy if you're playing Age of Sigmar.
Yeah. The chat seems pretty appreciative of the just incredible levels of detail they've gone into it. And there are some extremely funny comments about how much lotion he'd need for his knees to sort the sort of.
But at least he's got the creepers to apply it, though, right? So.
I love
There
the
you go.
idea of these creepers who look like properly sort of maniacal and a bit menacing, but they also fulfil such like a pleasant function. It's
Yeah.
really good.
It's got to be done. It's got to be
Nice. Right. So King Brod, the
On veut les
sort of
spruce.
priest king of the Sons
done.
of
Yeah,
Behemat.
that kind of works.
Sort
On
of
n'a
a-
pas de Battle Tome.
lovely, what
Pas de
a-
Battle Tome
But
reveal.
you can
Amazing
read
role.
about him in the Realmgate Wars stories if you want to kind of go back and remember the original kind of incarnation of him. He's quite a kind of popular character back then in kind of Age of Sigmar circles from those people who were right there at the start of the edition.
Sort of those characters that sort of underpin the mortal realms, but you hadn't seen. till
Yeah,
now.
there was also a little. The original Gargant army in Age of Sigmar was basically like a special detachment that you could use by having him and a bunch of his Gargant followers. So this is a nice kind of nod back, so as nostalgic as you can get within Age of Sigmar, which is only, 7 years old,
7 years old already.
6 or 7. Who knows? The time flies.
There we go. Right. There's a little bit more.
There's more.
for the mortal
Oh,
realms.
okay, go.
What about this?
Battle Tome, please. Oh. Oh. Slaves? Slaves to Darkness. Yep. On les a vus! C'est pas corn, c'est slaves. Le nouveau Demon Prince. Oh, il y a une grosse boîte Slaves to Darkness. Grosse boîte.
So, the Slaves of Darkness are set to return. We saw a few of these bits the last time you and I were doing a Warhammer preview, which covered the Mortal Realms.
We did.
And here we see a bit more. Fill us in on this release for Slaves to Darkness.
Yeah, so we knew they were coming. We knew the Slaves to Darkness were on their way, and the armies of the Ever-Chosen, the black-clad killers of chaos, were marching. But we can now talk to you about the army set, which is on its way, which is the first time, a little bit like what we saw with the Leagues of Votan, the first time you'll be able to get your hands on some of the new miniatures, and the first time you'll be able to get your hand on the Battle Tome. So some of these miniatures we've seen before, some of them we haven't. So we've got the Ogroids in the top right there, which are your kind of heavy-hitting elite shock troops. But pretty much everything in a Slave to Darkness army is a heavy-hitting elite shock troops.
Quite.
You've got the Demon Prince, which is the you can see in the middle of the army there. That is the Demon Prince we previewed previously, which is the multi-part, incredibly flexible kit with all sorts of options. You can build it as any of the Chaos Gods. You can also, were you so inclined, build it as its Warhammer 40,000 incarnation. And then the kind of meat of the box, I suppose, is that huge unit of Chosen. You can see at the front there. And
Yep,
these
the
models
Chosen.
are just phenomenally cool.
Every single one of these looks like they could be a character model in an army, quite frankly.
Yeah, these look as good as Chaos Lords looked about a decade ago, right? So, like, you look at the detail of them, even down to that one at the front there with the massive two-handed axe. You can see the detail in his eyes. He just looks like a stone-cold black armored killer.
Nice.
Basically. The models are fabulous. They're multi-build options, so you've got a few different ways that you can approach each one. Lots of interchangeability with things like heads and weaponry and things like that. The detail on them is beautiful. You can imagine these painted up in all the various different incarnations of Khornate and Tzeentchian and Nurgle and Slanesh, but they look pretty good in black and gold. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Amen.
Lovely detailing on things like the banner there as well, and all of the weapons are kind of like runic, kind of blessed by chaos, basically. So you've got that kind of recurring glowing red power rune, which links back to things like Archeon's shield. So you've got that kind of recurring motif across the whole of the army.
I also think that there's going to be like a black market trade in things like the banner, because word bearers will be falling over themselves with that in Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I mean, word bearers got some pretty cool toys this year already with the
No
Warhammer
doubt.
40,000 releases, but certainly, yes, absolutely. If you wanted to mix and match between
Ouais, vraiment, Slave to Darkness
between
vont
Chaos
avoir
Space
un
Marines
gros
and,
revamp de leur ligne.
Chaos Warriors, that has been a
Vraiment.
perennial favourite of kit bashes, hasn't it,
C'est ça,
to
c'est
mix the kit together and make some really nice combos.
Reste les drag queen maraudeurs à mettre à jour.
Stunning examples of
Faut
Chaos
prendre des
Warrior,
Blood
probably the
River,
best
c'est ça le truc.
Chaos Warrior
Prends des Blood River, t'es mis sur des
with
25 mm.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, this set also, as you've talked about, contains the Demon Prince. I think that's the next image that Raph is about to show. No, we've got the Ogrotherodons. How could we miss these guys? Such a tragic backstory, and now such an integral part of Archaon's sort of martial efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen these guys before, former warriors of destruction turned chaos.
Arrête, Kev, tu
They,
l'as vendu ton corn.
have particular hatred for the forces of destruction under Gorka Morka. And
Tu vas te restarter corn encore quand le livre va sortir. Dad Bud Corn.
But very much under the sway of chaos.
Tu l'as manqué le
the
Dad
kind
Bud Corn, Kev.
of lieutenants
Il
and
était là
champions
tantôt.
of Archeon's army, looking after his holdings in the Baron.
C'est un Warcry, Underworld's
Very cool
Warband.
little unit, and very bestial. Those weapons again, kind of linking back into those Chaos Chosen, but a
Yep.
little bit more on the rough and rugged side. I
Un beau
suppose.
priest, par
Yeah,
contre.
absolutely. And now the promised Demon Prince Badum, as Eddie has previously mentioned, comes with a whole stack of options so that you can
C'est
build
pas les plus belles
Warhammer
têtes, hein?
Demon Prince, a Warhammer 40,000 Demon Prince, and representing any one of the great gods of chaos, or that head that you see on the model, which kind of can serve whichever purpose.
And obviously, all the things in this box as well will have their own separate release later on. So
Yes.
if you have a Chaos Space Marine army, which we know lots of you do, if you don't want to pick up this bit box and start a Slave to Darkness army, although you should, because Age of Sigmar's great and you'll love the army, you will also be able to
Ouais,
pick
celle
up,
de base
soon
surtout,
after the
là,
box,
est
separately
affreuse.
for any of the various places you can have him.
Elle est vraiment
Demon
derpy.
Princes are in all sorts of factions, so you can have them in Chaos Demons, you can have them in Chaos Space Marines, you can have them in lots of different armies within the different settings. If it's Chaos flavoured, you can probably have a Chaos Demon Prince somewhere near your army.
All true. Right, and then, as you would come to expect from one of these army boxes, the Battle Tome is found within it, the first way to get your hands on these Slaves to Darkness battle.
Yeah, and it's a big one as well. So there's lots and lots of stuff in the Slaves to Darkness. In many ways, they are the kind of premier villains of Warhammer Age of Sigmar. You know, the Cruel Boys and the Nighthaunt and things like that will kind of claim that they're the villains, but we all know that Archeon is the true kind of evil mastermind of the Age of Sigmar. It also includes things like Be'lakor and his followers as well. So you've got the kind of full gamut of Slaves to Darkness.
Probablement Legion of the First Prince est rendu
Everything
là-dedans. Là.
within Chaos that isn't aligned to one of the various Chaos gods or a Beastman. So there's a lot of stuff in this book.
Awesome. Now, something to hopefully give people in the chat wondering when they might see the next code.
Oh shit, des images!
You know, the thing they're excited for on the
Ooh!
horizon. Here is the roadmap, sort of seeing
Disciples of Zinch, Lumineth Realm
23,
Lords.
with the Battle Tome roadmap.
Ogarma Tribes et Sons of Behemoth confirmés restent séparés.
Followed by Lumineth Realm Lords, and that's kind of like in the offing, like
Yeah, that's kind of news. I mean, we've just seen a battle box released for Lumineth Realm Lords.
Non, c'est sûr, ça allait pas être Gitz.
C'est
sûr que ça allait pas être Gitz.
Factions, but this confirms it that those are on the way very soon. And then soon afterwards, along to go with that new Hunter and the new King Broad, the very very cool
Gitz Corn Winter 2025.
We've got the Earthborn Tribes and the Sons of Behemoth battle tomes for destruction,
Awesome.
and then coming in the army battle box before the end of the year, you have the Slaves to Darkness limited special edition version of that battle tome, followed shortly after by.
Pourquoi ils ont des nouvelles images?
So an exciting few months for.
and a
Ooh,
very
okay.
Bloomsbury Geats fan in the chat, Heart.
His time will come. His time will come.
Just hold firm. You know, one day your dreams will come. Right. Whew, we are running over on time.
It's fine,
but
just
I'm
keep
quite
rolling,
enjoying
just keep
myself. So
Non, Zinch et Lumineth, c'était pour l'été. On avait 4 livres cet été. Puis à l'automne, on avait 2 livres. Fait que c'était pas... C'est exactement ce qui était prévu.
Is the first and favoured son of the Emperor. He's one of 18 demigods that were created to conquer the galaxy in the name of mankind. He embodied all of the best qualities that the Emperor himself had. He was an incredibly charismatic
BOC versus
individual.
Gitz en 2023.
He was a military genius, highly competent. The hosts of mankind would follow him literally into the gates of hell. He was put in charge of all of those armies when the Emperor retreated to Terra to undertake his own great work. The fates rested too heavily on his shoulders. The ruinous powers, the forces of chaos, looked upon this individual and they said, this is our opportunity, this is the weapon, this is the tool that we can use against the Emperor. And at the planet Davin, the War Master was injured and he was taken to the Davinite lodges, the temples, in order to be healed by the Davinite lodge priests. And it was during that ritual healing that chaos started to worm its way into his soul. He appeared to be the same, only he'd switched sides. He'd led this great rebellion against the Emperor. And then we get to a point 3 years into the heresy where Horus undergoes a transformation and experiences a literal and metaphorical period in the underworld. When he comes back, he's ascended. He's essentially the same model, the same design, the same character, but every single point of him has been rendered in a way that makes it look like he is swollen with the powers of chaos. It's bigger, it's darker, it's more powerful, it's more evil. There's a narrative, there's a story that is moving onwards towards its final destination, which happens at the Siege of Terra. Horus Ascended is the ultimate power-up for your army. He takes everything that's great about your army and magnifies it. It makes it more spectacular in battle, it makes it braver, it makes it more, frankly, demonic. It powers up everything about your army and it forms the ultimate centerpiece. Horus isn't the only Primarch to have ascended, and there's definitely scope for other Primarchs to go through a similar process, and maybe there's more models in the future that will do the same thing.
A character so important to the underpinnings of the Warhammer 40,000 universe that he has an entire heresy named after him.
It's got a whole game named after him.
This is Horus Ascended, and what an unbelievably cool model this is.
This is one of the coolest models ever released for Warhammer, I think. So this is Horus Ascended. If you have your copies of the Horus Heresy rules, you will have been leafing through and you might have noticed that Horus has two profiles in there. You've got Horus the War Master and you've got Horus Ascended, which basically is Horus swollen with the powers of chaos. So this is him towards the latter half of the Horus Heresy, where the powers of the Chaos Gods are kind of flooding into him, and he has kind of become this embodiment of chaos undivided, effectively.
All right.
The miniature is just completely awesome, and I think that the coolest thing about it for me is that you can see all the little subtle touches all the way through it from the original version that have kind of transformed.
Sais-tu quoi, je pense que Games Workshop ont le syndrome de la page blanche pour les Gits, ils ont absolument aucune idée comment les updater pour la 3.0. Ça se peut, ça. Ça se peut, ça.
Obviously, chaos spikes. He's pretty unsubtly standing on a big massive pile of corpses, which is a solid nod to being a villain.
We were talking about this just before we came live, and I was like, if you are stood on a 3 feet deep sort of pile of sort of cadavers, you know, broken skeletons and the ruined corpses of what looks like salamanders to me, you were definitely the baddie, and even Horus must have twigged by now. Yeah. He's a wrong.
I mean, in the latter half of the Horus Heresy, it's actually quite hard to find that many salamanders.
That's very.
Base de Gotrek pimpé.
Players, if you're out there, the shade was just thrown. These shots here, I'll address a question in the chat. This is a Forge World resin character series model.
Forge World.
And the level of detail that the designers have captured is just incredible. That face in particular, you can see it in that sort of top right-hand picture.
Fail cast.
Truly unbelievable. We are living in a golden age of awesome miniatures. I'm pretty flippin' excited.
Yeah, I love there's lots of little subtle touches all the way through it where you can just see little bits of chaos creeping in. So you've got runes and things marked onto his greaves that weren't there on the previous incarnation. He's obviously covered in skulls. He's got kind of skulls from almost every one of the Loyalist Legion and a few traitors, I think. Rounded belts just to kind of, show what he's made of.
Yeah, Raph and I were playing the Who Could the Heads Belong To game trying to work out from like the various Horus Heresy novels and such, who's killed in the presence of or near to Horus who might be a worthy trophy, and that became quite a fun game to play.
I imagine what it might be is the various lieutenants of Horus
Who've just done it wrong.
Oh, no, so possibly, yeah, but also like maybe they bring him like, you know, here's the head of this person who was betraying you, or this planetary governor, or this praetor who defied you at this particular place, that sort of thing. But yeah, he means business. The other thing that's really nice about this is the version of Horus that you saw in the Horus Heresy cinematic.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
if you go back and watch that, you'll see actually that the subtle things about it are a little bit different from the old Horus model that we've seen already.
Or as if by magic.
So you can see here the differences. So there's all sorts of subtle things. So like all the Lunar Wolf iconography has gone. So there's no almost no nods at all to the kind of origin as a Lunar Wolf on this anymore, other than the wolf itself draped over his shoulder. But even that started to kind of decay. The skull of the wolf has started to kind of creep through. It's much spikier, much scarier, much bigger. Like the character is literally bigger, swollen with the power of chaos. Worldbreaker itself looks even more menacing and chaotic than it did. The Talon of Horus looks even meaner. The whole thing is just awesome.
There's it's an interesting thing that again we were discussing.
Yes, swole.
The sort of Horus Lupercal model on the right still looks quite noble. You know, like his features and everything. You could almost believe that he still thinks he's sort of doing the right thing, and then Horus ascended. Like chaos is like fully holding sway at this point. I love it. I can't wait to see him tromping around on battlefields. He is a lot of the points.
I think he is 1,000 points in the game, which puts him like into the region of things like super heavy vehicles and stuff. But I mean, as an ascended Primarch, he can pretty much curb stomp any of the other Primarchs in the game at that point. He is, you know, all the powers of 4 greater demons rolled into a Primarch, mixed in with the best weapons in the galaxy. So he's pretty mega in game.
Yeah, there was an article on WarhammerCommunity.com months ago when the Lionel Johnson model came out, and it was sort of a death match between all the Primarchs. And
I
Lionel
think a
Johnson
rematch might be in order.
Came out on top, and I fear deeply for the rematch. Yeah,
I think that's going to happen. I think we'll have to make it happen.
Go the way of my boy.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Tremendous.
All right.
Yeah,
Est-ce qu'il nous reste d'autres choses?
Sort of slew of amazing releases.
Mar versus 30 Guardsmen.
It hardly feels like any time at all has passed, and they've had tanks and dreadnoughts. And
it just keeps coming. It just keeps coming. And Andy said in that video as well, like Horus obviously isn't the only Primarch that changes over the course of the Horus Heresy. Both loyalists and traitors come out of the heresy very different than they went into it. So this may not be the last of the Primarchs that we see moving, changing.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. Also, a good day for like related news in general. The cover and title of the next book in the sequence for the Sins of Terror.
The final book, the End and the Death, which will be multi-part, written by Dan Abnett. Very, very exciting. So if you are a Horus Heresy fan, today has been pretty mega, right?
What a time to be alive. Right. We, however, are not done yet.
There's more.
Let's take one last trip to the Dark Millennium. Here is some Warhammer 40,000.
Ah, les Corn Berserkers qu'on n'avait pas vu. V'là ton corn, Kev! Some metal.
Blood for the Blood God.
Indeed. So we've seen one of the new Corn Berserkers before, but this is now the full squad in all their cornate glory, and they're just mega, right? So everything you could want from a unit of Corn Berserkers. This is the full squad. There are 10 in a box. There's 5. There's 5 we'll show you in a second. And there's a mix of all sorts of different features. Everything that's kind of iconic about Khorne Berserkers. So you've got chain axes, you've got chain swords, you've got some very chaotic looking plasma guns, you've got relics and icons of Khorne.
Helmets with massive crests on the top.
Massive crests. You've got skulls. There's options in the box as well. So you can make them with your kind of Khornate helmet with the symbol of Khorne built into it, which is very iconic. But equally, if you're a fan of
Alright. Je pense que c'est tout pour de leur côté. Peut-être retourner voir sur Warhammer Community les reveals. J'imagine qu'on peut les voir.
So I've always loved the Osmotic Guild, that sort of space rebreather thing that a lot of Space Marines have. And they have the angriest
Okay.
really angry looking space
Le Blood Pelt Hunter.
some extra weapon options we haven't seen before. So there's a couple of guys in that unit with massive.
Alright, on sait que au moins on sait que Battletomb s'en vient. Ogre Mod Tribes. On a un nouveau héros, probablement une dual box avec les Sons of Behemoth, donc j'imagine que ça va être ce dude-là, le héros. On va avoir quoi, des Frost Sabers? Peut-être qu'on a des nouveaux Frost Sabers aussi avec ça, right? Ça serait quand même cool. Il y en a de Frost Sabers, puis probablement du Beastclaw Raiders à travers, ou des Gloutons, je sais pas. Puis je sais plus ce qui a dit tantôt dans le chat, mais probablement effectivement que ça va être une boîte genre Beastclaw... Ogre Mod Tribes versus King Brood, là. Ça va probablement être juste ça. Ouais. Fait cool. Je l'ai pas. Les détails sont nice, mais comme vous avez dit tantôt dans le chat, ça va être quelque chose à peinturer. Plein de textures différents. Oh, le roadmap est ici. Fait que Zinch puis Luminette qui vont dropper, j'imagine, dans les prochaines semaines. Les covers sont nice. Ils ont eu droit à des nouveaux covers quand même, ils sont chanceux. Puis Ogre Mod Tribes et Sons of Behemoth. Et finalement, ben on savait, mais en Winter, Slaves to Darkness qui s'en vient. Qu'est-ce qui vous excite? Qu'est-ce que vous attendez? Avez-vous des armées que vous jouez là-dedans? Moi, personnellement, j'ai mes Zinch que j'ai très hâte de mettre la main sur le nouveau livre. Et mes Sons of Behemoth aussi, j'ai très hâte de mettre la main sur le nouveau livre. Très cool. C'est d'autres choses les autres? Non. C'était ultra prévisible les deux books Zinch et Luminette. Ouais, c'est sûr qu'on s'attendait ça arrive. Toutes les dernières dual books ont été prédécédées au Battletomb. Non, c'est ça c'est sûr. La box à l'automne, c'est Ogres versus Sun. Ouais, effectivement, ça s'enligne probablement pour être ça. Des bots Chosen et plus d'Ogreid. Ouais, nice. Les Ogreid sont vraiment cool. On a les Chosen aussi. Dans Slaves to Darkness, va avoir un range vraiment très cool là, quand vous allez mettre toute l'armée sur la table. Wouh! J'ai commencé Luminette il y a peu de temps, content de ne pas avoir acheté le Battletomb encore. Écoute! Luminette, là, tu peux jamais être certain si t'as fait le bon move quand t'achètes leur Battletomb. Ils pourraient littéralement en sortir un autre 6 mois après. Il faut un petit recap, là. Puis, je vais revenir à 100. Il faudrait aller voir le Sun. On l'a pas. Non, ils n'ont pas fait l'article encore du Son of Behemoth. Damn. On l'a pas encore. On va le voir ici à un moment donné, j'imagine. Les Gore Chosen, quand même nice. J'aime beaucoup les modèles. Très cool. Le Blood Pelt Hunter qu'on vient de voir.
The biggest, literally, character in the Mortal Realms, the King Brood of the Sons of Behemoth.
Nice.
We slunk to the side and we looked at the Slaves to Darkness with this new army box, little shout out, by the way. Have a look at the writing on that picture when you get a chance and you go onto warhammercommunity.com. Oh, Raf's gone back. Isn't he nice? That is like some crazy chaos alphabet going on right there.
That's
and
true.
I love it. Anyway, so this would be your first place to get your hands on all these kits. Yeah,
And the
fun.
battle tome.
Yes, and the battle tome. Yeah, absolutely. So, and then we went.
Le
from
biggest, c'est
there,
Archaon, I
into
guess.
the Age of Darkness with the new Horus Ascended miniature, absolute showstopper of a model, and then we finished out with a little bit.
Techniquement, le plus gros pouvoir qu'on peut jouer dans Age of Sigmar, c'est le dragon de Khorne. Mais eux, ils arrêtent pas de dire... Je sais pas ce qu'ils veulent dire, mais c'est... Est-ce que ça compte pas parce que c'est du Forge World? Je sais pas. Techniquement, le plus gros, c'est le Khorne Dragon.
Oh, I'm tempted to do the maths, but I won't torture you with it. So, all in good time. You just had some Krieg.
It'll be worth the wait.
Be patient. You know, the guard are known for holding the line, and that's all you need to do.
Tant qu'à faire le Dread Saurian, ouais, c'est ça. Mais je pense que le Khorne Dragon, c'est vraiment, vraiment huge.
Joining us for this awesome and most enjoyable Warhammer preview online, and we hope that you enjoyed it. Hope everybody at Nova enjoyed their one that finished probably a little while ago.
Yeah, and good luck in your games if you're watching from Nova. You've got
Ok, c'est terminé.
of fun games.
So that's it. Et on a-tu juste l'article du méga, ça aurait été hot? Non, on pourra pas le revoir. Damn. Mais c'est ça. Fait que... Ploup. Ils l'ont-tu dit que c'était juste un upgrade kit? Ils l'ont-tu dit? Khorne Dragon, ensuite Saurian et le War Mammoth. Ouais, exact, c'est ça. Ils ont-tu vraiment dit que c'était un upgrade kit? J'ai pas entendu cette partie-là. Oh, y a-tu d'autres choses?
Being so nice and civilized. Eddie will be the person who knew all the answers.
Thank you, Adam.
No.
In the Miniature Studios and the Box Games teams and everywhere who's made all these things for me to talk about. We will see you again very soon. Good night.
Fini. Ok. Ils ont comparé ça au Imperial Knights de 40k. Ok. Bon, I guess qu'on va voir dans les prochaines semaines. Eh ben, c'était nice comme reveal. On n'a pas été trop déçus. C'est toujours subjectif, qu'est-ce que vous attendiez. Je voulais qu'on voie des Battle Tomes. On les a vus. J'espère qu'il y a des nouveaux modèles de plus pour Ogre. Ça serait quand même cool. Ils pourraient refaire genre les Icefall Yetis, puis des affaires de même, là, ça vaudrait la peine. Là. Il y a des vieux kits dans Ogre More Tribes. Là. Fait que je leur souhaite avec cette nouvelle boîte-là, mais il y a des bonnes chances que ça soit juste un héros dans la boîte. Fait que c'est ça. Fait que c'est bien malheureux, mais... Qu'est-ce que tu veux? Le Sons of Behemoth est nice. J'ai hâte le nouveau livre de Sons of Behemoth juste parce que Colin, ça prend un rewrite de ce livre-là. Là, c'est pas, ça feel pas. Ça feel vraiment pas comme jouer des gros gargants. Là. C'est juste du standing simulator. Fait que non, c'est ça. Hey, good night, Bogler. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night. Fait que tu sais. J'espère que, en tout cas à date, ils font des très bons livres, 3e édition, avec le feeling de l'armée. J'espère qu'on va avoir de quoi de pas pire pour les gargants. J'espère qu'ils vont réussir à designer quelque chose de pas pire. Puis même chose, ça fait longtemps que je le dis, mais les 2 prochains livres, là, Zinch et Luminette, ça va être comme le gros test. Là. Est-ce qu'ils sont capables de faire des livres, d'enlever toutes les negative play experience de ces 2 livres-là, de faire de quoi qui feel bien, qui feel good. J'ai hâte de voir. J'ai hâte de voir. Xav, tu viens pas le 17? Non, je peux pas être là. Can't be there, Bogner. I'm sorry. Would have loved to. I'll try to next year, for sure. I wish you all a great tournament at the Montreal GT. Pour ceux qui n'ont pas encore, qui sont pas encore inscrits, je crois qu'il reste des places. Peut-être tu pourras me confirmer, George. Pour le Montreal GT, tournoi de 2 jours à Montréal, si ça vous intéresse, allez voir ça. Zinch, ça va être dur, je pense. Ce livre-là avait subtil tellement d'errata. Ouais. Subi tellement d'errata, ouais. J'ai hâte de voir ce qu'ils vont faire. J'ai vraiment, vraiment hâte de voir ce qu'ils vont faire. Zinch, c'est une des premières armées que j'ai eues dans Age of Sigmar, donc j'ai hâte de voir ce qu'ils vont faire avec ça. On peut faire des places 4-5. Parfait, donc si les jeux ça vous intéresse, allez voir ça. Le Montreal GT qui se déroule le 17 septembre, 17-18 je crois, à Montréal. Il reste quelques places. Cool, fait que sur ce, guys, c'est ce qui conclut l'épisode pour ce soir. Merci d'avoir été là pour les reveals en direct. Toujours un plaisir de faire ça avec vous autres. Je vais vous souhaiter à tous une excellente soirée, une excellente semaine. On se retrouve la semaine prochaine pour le retour des épisodes, espérons-le, weekly, hebdomadaire. Donc, j'aimerais finir en disant pyro tueur. Merci. Merci, Carl. Très important. Pyro tueur. On se laisse là-dessus, tout le monde. Bye bye! Pyro tueur!